all night. You got a book out?
Yes, thank you very much. And I'm very glad you didn't say that I had any vices, because, you know, my book is about how a nice girl who likes drinking tea and planting azaleas should get involved in poker. I am a beacon of virtue.
That sounds like my kind of book.
Yeah, I think
read
you'll
it
enjoy
along
it.
with the Beano and the Dandy. That's your lot for tonight, folks. I'd like to say we're off with Victoria to a high-class casino for a few Campari and Blue Nuns, and of course some hot canasta action. But since Michael broke the bank at Copacabana, we've been as welcome in the gambling dens of Mayfair as David Miliband at Brother Ed's wedding. So it's another late night doner kebabylon. Some extra chili sauce for Jackie, of course. We've ordered that. Then back to Michael's for a spot of Babe Station, provided he's topped up the subscription. Nighty-night. Don't let the mad dog bite.
This resolution demands an immediate ceasefire and a complete end to violence and attacks against civilians.
The bagman's there. You say a word, you think a word, he'll come for you. Can you see him? He's out there.
Waking the Dead, Sunday at 9 on BBC One and BBC One HD.
The scandal of illegal news gathering, tabloid hacks exposed in Panorama, beginning tonight. Sign Zone in a few minutes. Well, let's hit the slopes first on BBC One for the skiing Weatherview with John Hammond.
Hello there and welcome to the very last skiing weather forecast of the season. The winter's had its ups and downs, but the good news is we've had fresh dumps recently in parts of Italy and Switzerland. Saas-Fee, 45 centimetres in the last few days, and over in the US, Squaw Valley, over a metre of fresh snowfall. As far as this weekend's concerned, a fairly mixed picture across Europe. There will be some fresh snow across many of our alpine resorts, but the risk of some rain at lower elevations. Mostly dry in the Pyrenees, mostly dry up in Scandinavia too, and here the temperatures will stay fairly low, keeping the snow in pretty good nick. And for Scotland too, it's looking like a fabulous weekend's skiing. So let's get into some detail as we run through this weekend, starting off in Scandinavia, where I'm expecting it to stay mostly dry. The odd flurry can't be ruled out, but plenty of fine weather to ski, and as I mentioned, the temperature staying low. Some of the best skiing of the winter is to be had across the Highlands, the Cairngorms of Scotland, at reasonably low temperatures, keeping that snow intact for the time being. Down in the Pyrenees, we've had a few snow flurries recently, mostly dry through this weekend, but at higher elevations, some great skiing to be had. Snow showers across the Alps, but as I mentioned, at lower elevations, the risk of it falling as rain at times, and down across Bulgaria as well. Temperatures are quite high at the moment. Cortina, though, has benefited from some fresh snowfall just in the last day or so. So skiing conditions are great. There's a great powder actually up at the higher elevations, and many of the lifts are still open. Zermatt, again, it's the higher elevations which are seeing the best of the snow conditions. No surprises at this time of year. As you run back to the resort in the afternoon, it will get a bit slushy, but again, most of the lifts are open. In terms of fresh snowfall after the last few days, it is Italy and Switzerland which have really had the most of it. Saas-Fee has had over half a metre of good powder, and it's a reasonably north-facing resort, so that powder should stay intact over the next few days. Montgenèvre also doing pretty well. As we run through the weekend then, you can see those showers moving across the Alps, rain at the lowest of elevations, but there'll be some dry and bright weather as well, so some good skiing to be had. Again, the Pyrenees staying mostly dry. The World Cup has been interrupted by rainfall. The Super G, the men's Super G, had to be rained off unfortunately, but hopefully this weekend the giant slalom and the slalom will go ahead. Now, over in North America, again, it's a fairly mixed picture. We've had some fairly high temperatures across the eastern resorts recently, so some slushy conditions at lower levels, and temperatures will fluctuate over the next few days. Out west, generally, the temperatures are lower, and the prospect of some fresh snowfall for many of our resorts out in the Rockies. So, some detail for Saturday. You can see the extent of the fresh snowfall indicated by our computer model as we run from Sun Peaks southwards through Fernie towards Jackson Hole. Some of this snow will be quite heavy, giving fresh accumulations, but through the afternoons temperatures rise above freezing, so the lower runs will get a little bit heavy at times. Further south down towards Colorado, California, a lot of dry weather through this weekend. Heavenly featured resorts, so there's bags of snow, particularly at upper elevations, of course, well over 3 metres, and some good powder still. Most of the lifts are still open. In Whistler, again, because we're getting so late on in the season now, as you are skiing back to the resort in the afternoon, you'll find the lower slopes are quite heavy, but again, most of the lifts are still open. In terms of fresh snowfall across the North American resorts, some of our eastern locations haven't done too badly, but some of that has melted courtesy of those higher temperatures, and so the best of the powder likely at the higher elevation rocky resorts through this weekend. But all in all, some pretty good skiing as we end this season. Much more detail, of course, as ever online. The data is supplied courtesy of the Ski Club of Great Britain. That's it from me. A very good night to you.
So you booked it yet?
Booked what?
The honeymoon.
Oh, yeah. Barbados, 2 weeks. Can't wait. Beachfront bungalow with a hot tub.
Come on, it's nearly 12. Ryan, shoot.
Yes, chef?
Carol, check in, now.
Coming right up, chef.
Accidents at work can shatter lives, so find out how to avoid them. Call us now or search online for Shattered Lives.
It's the final weekend of the Six Nations, and the Grand Slam and the title are up for grabs. Can England defeat Ireland to win the Grand Slam, or can Wales provide a sting in the tail against France? For the love of rugby. The Six Nations concludes Saturday on BBC One, BBC One HD and Radio 5 Live.
Programmes in tonight's Sign Zone will be running 5 minutes later than originally billed, with Countryfile in half an hour. Is it last stop for some rural buses? John Craven's on board services facing cuts. First on BBC One and BBC One HD, Vivian White reports for Panorama.